Yusuf, please go ahead.
Thank you, Yasmin. So, hello everybody again. As Yasmin said, it's both Arabic and English, so you can, those who like to speak in Arabic, they are welcomed, and the same for who like to speak in English. So let me start by speaking in English to welcome my colleagues from EIFL, Pamela, we have Kathleen, we have Irina and Omo, and also Nabil from Orchid, who will be speaking today, in addition to our colleagues from Palestine, Tunisia, and Morocco, who will be doing some kind of presentation or update on the progress in this regard in the region. Mainly, the concept that we are behind is that, to start with, we are a regional research and education network. We support the development of infrastructure, collaboration to facilitate collaboration between research and education communities at the national, regional, and at the global levels. ASREN is among the regional networks, is trying to develop the research and education infrastructure for the Arab region, and not only for the developing with the infrastructure itself, but means and tools and know-how on how this infrastructure can be better utilized for the benefit of research and education and the development of the communities for our region. We focus on many aspects, on many like mobility of users through EduRoam and EduGain services. We focus also on the future to start to provide services like cloud and so on for the communities. But the concept that we are behind in this meeting is because we started our initiative called LibSense as one of the efforts that we want to go further in supporting libraries and librarians to better know more about the technology. Then later on, it will be for how to make research and education data repositories available to the community. I will not touch this because it will be the concept, the thing that will be addressed by my colleagues here. I think what I wanted to say that for the Arab librarians, that we want to make use of the LibSense opportunity. It is really a great opportunity that bringing us together through workshops, capacity building, policies, and so on. The good thing that we are Africa Connect 3, which we would like to thank very much for that, is supporting the LibSense, and it has a dedicated work package included in the concept of the. Sometimes I try to admit people, so I'm sorry for some interrupts. So. So the Africa Connect 3 is supporting us, so we want to make use of this opportunity. It's we are left with 3 more years, and under the leadership of Wakren, who is leading the LibSense, but we are also supporting. We are also at ASREN working on establishing more like infrastructure to support this open access and open data. We are also promoting the open science in general through promoting the European Open Science Platform and African Open Science Platform, to which we believe that it is the ultimate goal to have some infrastructure and services to support this open science. Not to make it long, this is my introduction, and I hope that you will find our meeting and workshop benefit to you. And later on, we will have mechanisms to follow up. ASREN has a staff now to support the development in this regard. So we will be dedicating part of our effort at ASREN to support this community. We have created a mailing list that we want you all to join and share, and we will be sharing also any kind of technology aspects related to collaboration related to librarians, related to open access and open science and open data. It will be shared within this community, and hope we will take it further from there. Thank you, Yasmin. The floor is.
Thank you, Youssef. Next, may I invite Omo Waye from WACREN to talk about LibSense and Open Science Initiative.
Thank you very much, Youssef and colleagues. Thanks for having us. I thought I would follow Youssef's introduction by extending that introduction a little bit more and setting the stage with how LibSense sort of emerged, and then my colleagues can sort of fill the gaps. So I've got a little presentation which I'll start now. So I'm not very familiar with Google Meet, so you need to tell me if you can see my screen. Can you see my presentation?
There is some feedback.
Right, okay. Let me see if I can see it again.
It's a small icon saying.
Sorry?
Present now, and then you can share.
There's present now, and then it gives me the options to share my entire screen, a window, or a Chrome tab. So Yasmin, what do I do? Just present now?
I say there is a button called present now. From there, you can.
Okay. Let me see which one it is. Is this good? Excellent. All right. Yes. So I just wanted to sort of introduce this first slide. So some people in the group might have seen it before. So what is LibSense? So Youssef had just sort of provided an introduction. So LibSense is building a community for open science in the African regions through library and NREN collaboration. So my hope with this, and I suppose that's what the ASREN intent is as well, is that with this initiative started by ASREN, we will extend it as originally intended right across our the partnership that makes Africa connect. So the goals of this community is to support the cultural change required for building these open science blocks, provide technical support largely through the NREN collaboration, or the NREN aspects of the collaboration, jointly build capacity both in the library aspects and in the infrastructural aspects, and use this and leverage this community to develop value-added services. So I thought, I would situate that is my part of the presentation at the very beginning. So, colleagues in the Arab world who are looking at extending LibSense can understand how we started. So the whole LibSense idea was birthed by two things that happened at the end of two European projects that had WACREN and ASREN in it. So these were the SciGaia, which was focused on building infrastructure in Africa, and the Tandem project, which looked to build the capacity of WACREN to be able to get funding. At that time, WACREN is a bit further ahead in terms of its interaction with the European Union. So WACREN was just starting to get on board the Africa Connect projects. So two things happened around that time. One was that in the SciGaia project, I had a role in WACREN to monitor the uptake of infrastructure projects that were developed in SciGaia. So because of IFU's role in Africa, had established an informal collaboration with IFU, who wanted to monitor the connectivity uptake to support their members who they provided like library services to. Another thing was we had identified that librarians were essential to raise awareness and advocacy of REN services on campus. And we had this program called institutional focal points, where the librarians were supposed to be these focal points. But in trying to develop that, we sort of recognized that, you know, this needed to be a more coherent activity, and it needed substantial investment in improving their information management capabilities. So after some discussions between ASREN, UbuntuNet Alliance, and ASREN, we decided to launch what has become LibSense in Africa Connect 2. The original focus was to improve the information capabilities of librarians. And then we brought in the University of Sheffield. Pamela's among the colleagues here, so she can respond to any questions on that, to help shape the research agenda. Well, another key sort of activity that sort of made us progress very quickly was the involvement of IFUL and CORE, who sort of provided a focus on open access repositories and building communities for open science. So they will speak after me, so I'm not going to sort of dwell too much on that. So today, LibSense is a very broad community. It has all the 3 regional RENs in Africa Connect 2 and now Africa Connect 3. GIANT, the European, or the 4 regional RENs in Africa Connect 3, because that includes GIANT. The other partners I have mentioned, the University of Sheffield, CORE, and IFUL, the National Informatics Institute in Japan, the Open Air, I'm sure some of you are familiar with the Open Air European program, Open Air, and essentially the entire open science community in Africa. And with any luck, we should be able to check when I update this slide, you know, maybe in another few months, we can say in Africa and Arabia. So what we did at the beginning was to just have some agenda setting surveys and workshops. So Yusuf had mentioned LibSense 3, which was the workshop we had in the ASREN region, but we had one in every region. So we had one in South and East Africa, focused on the UbuntuNet Alliance community. We had one in Accra, focused on WACREN, and the one in Tunis was for North Africa and Arab, the region that ASREN covers. So the reports are all available on the wiki. I have the link in there. And quite a lot has happened since this point. But Irina will be speaking about some of that, so with Kathleen. So I will leave that there. But I thought I would sort of mention the plans that we have for LibSense in Africa Connect 3, because these are plans shared across the 3 regional RENs. And the idea is to sort of replicate this in our different regions in our own different contexts. So there is a plan to establish a framework for open access and repository and journal development that is sustainable in Africa. In Arabia, there's quite a bit is similar, and in some parts more advanced. You'll be discussing your own context and how that works. We have plans to pilot shared repositories and a research data management platform. Again, the intent there is to abstract, especially institutions who don't have the capacity, whether it is technical or otherwise, to manage this themselves, to find a way to pool our resources together to have this infrastructure so that they can sort of leverage what we pulled together. One thing we have found that there's a demand for is access to free or low-cost content providers. So we are leveraging some other NREN infrastructure we're developing in the area of user access and authentication to provide these popular content providers access to these popular content providers in a way that is more ubiquitous, so people can, when we provide these platforms that allow for single sign-on and federated identity, it allows people to use the singular password, username from their campuses to access these different providers. But there's a bit more detail at the link I have provided. So this is just about the deliverables. It's a mirror of what I've just said. But for the framework, what we have done, we've already had some workshops that are sort of to determine what the community requirements are and what kind of skills librarians need to sort of develop to support these new open science initiatives. We'll be taking some of that output and having policy workshops with associations of vice chancellors and other policy makers to sort of get a holistic support for the entire initiative. So in some cases, this might include, compensation schemes to drive open access agenda within the universities. Sometimes it might involve how faculty will be assessed, but those are workshops that are in the pipeline. Hopefully, we will be comparing notes at some point in time on those things. We have what I already said. We had listed before the pilot for libraries with the identity platforms and lighthouse demonstrators. In addition, there is going to be quite a considerable amount of capacity development, but that will be informed by the feedback we get from the community. I think my 10 minutes should be more or less up. So that's where I will stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Omo. And now with Irina Koshma from IFL with presentation on infrastructure, capacity building, and policies working groups.
Hello, thanks a lot for inviting me. And let me, I guess I'm as confused as Omo was. I guess I'll share my entire, I don't know why. How come I don't see my slides? Yeah, I think it's coming, sorry. I hope you can see them now. As we mentioned already, Libsense, in addition to Arabic and French-speaking groups, has 3 topical groups: open science policies, governance and leadership; infrastructure working group, looking at open access journals, repositories for publications and data, and open discovery services, and also supporting capacity building and communities of practice and training. And I would like to highlight some of the developments we started in June, and some of you are also part of those working groups, and that's excellent. If you're not part of those working groups and would like to join, please join. It would be really good to have you. So this is an output of Open Science Policies working group that suggested a framework for open science developments in Africa, principles and actions for global participation. And we did this within a process of UNESCO drafting the open science recommendations. And we stressed importance of addressing this issue of inequality and supporting equity, diversity, and social justice. We also stress the importance of Africa-led and operated open infrastructures and importance of traditional local knowledge. And we start these recommendations stressing that researchers should be more active in shaping global open science discussions, because unfortunately, a lot of those discussions happen a lot in Europe, in North America, but sometimes voices of researchers from our regions are not so strong, and it would be good for researchers to be more active in those discussions and really say how they would like to see open science developing. And We also say that it's really important to shift the focus towards equitable, long-term, non-commercial, open source, if possible, scalable and sustainable transformation of scholarly publishing, and make sure that researchers have equal opportunities to publish, no matter where they are based or at which career stage they are. And we stress the importance of collaborative community-based models and open public infrastructures for scholarly publishing. And I think your region is especially good in having this open public infrastructures, and that's also something that other countries and regions should follow. And these are some of the principles that we drafted for Africa-led and operated open infrastructures, that ownership should be of research community. Those infrastructures should be open, not for profit, hosted and operated on the continent, governed by African community, and they should ensure multilinguality, diversity, inclusivity, and collaborative open access publishing. And by that we mean all sorts of collaborations, but without charging article processing charges. And we also stress the importance of local publishing, languages, Arabic, French, other languages, and also inclusivity of media and formats. And we suggested some actions to achieve those principles, strengthen equitable partnerships of all actors involved in scholarly communication, develop sustainable collaborative open access publishing models for African research, and also address those issues of research assessment and evaluation, and make sure that when universities, research institutes, countries assess researchers, they really evaluate their open science and research practices, and support culture of sharing, use open responsible research metrics and not just journal impact factors which are useless, and reward full diversity of research outputs, and also when this evaluation happens, then high quality research is valued regardless of language, regardless of publication channel, and not only journal publication, but also books and other outputs are considered important. Another document that this open science policies, governance and leadership working group is working on is strategic framework for open science, which includes why is open science important, principles, roles and responsibilities, infrastructure and service requirements, open science policy elements, and national and institutional strategies. And thanks to those who are already involved in this work, and welcome to join. Our second infrastructure working group hosted a webinar on persistent identifiers, and we have Gabi with us today and Nabil, who presented and also coordinated this work from ORCID side, and we also have covered DOIs and RORs, registry of organizations, and if you're interested in hearing more about persistent identifiers, you can check slides and recording of this webinar. And after this webinar, we set up a page on Libsense Wiki that collects implementation use cases of persistent identifiers. And again, thanks to Gabi, who provided a lot of examples on ORCID. And we also have one example from Crossref plugin for JS. And for ORCID, I'd like to stress a software that King Abdullah University of Science and Technology developed for DSpace 5 and 6 to make it easy to integrate with ORCID. And that's the first link on the slide. And I'll also add a link to the chat when I finish. On Monday, in 2 weeks, we will host a webinar on repository interoperability and harvesting. And it will be moderated by this working group co-chairs. And we already have 2 speakers from Tanzania, South Africa. We hope to have our colleagues from Ethiopia as well. And if you have any experiences in ensuring repository interoperability in terms of metadata on national level, please also let me know, and we'll be happy to include you as a speaker. And in November, this working group will look into ensuring open evaluation of universities, and we'll have a guest talk from this Australian project, which is called COCI, which is a hub for analyzing and evaluating open knowledge in higher education institutions. And then our capacity building working group identified 5 topics that we considered as priority topics to develop some training materials. And one of them is open repositories intermediate level. And you see the list of topics covered. Then open access publishing for journal editors and publishers and for librarians, beginner and intermediate level. Research data management for researchers and for librarians. Again, beginner level for researchers and beginner level for librarians. And I know that our colleagues in Palestine already have a lot of training materials about that in Arabic. So that would be wonderful to promote those materials. And then to other topics, open learning and open educational practices, again, focusing on roles of libraries and support staff and digitization. And I'll add to a chat sign up sheet if you would like to be involved in developing those training materials. That would be great, because we would love to have more people involved. And then next week is Open Access Week, and I hope we'll continue conversations about actions to build structural equity and inclusion in scholarly communication. And one of the events will be hosted by Qatar National Library, and it will be a panel on scholarly publishing after COVID-19. And I'll also add a link, and it's an open meeting, and welcome to join it if you're interested. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Irena. Next, may I invite Kathleen Shearer from CORE to talk about CORE as a global open science supporting initiative.
Hi there. Good morning, everyone. Now it's my turn to try to share my slides. Did you share your entire screen, Irina?
So for me, it worked. I had to open my presentation, and then I selected part of a screen, and then I could select my slides. But I had to do it like twice, and then it worked. Because first I only had one screen, which was this screen.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, please.
Great. Maybe this is not the right, is this presenter view? Can you see it in full?
No, it's not a presenter view, so you have to click.
Play from start, how's that?
It's still the same.
Oh. Play from start? No?
But maybe it's okay because you don't have too much text on your slides.
All right. And we don't have too much time either. So thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm going to take you very quickly through some of the activities we have at CORE around trying to strengthen local infrastructure for open science, as well as aligning and creating interoperability across countries and regions. So very, very quickly, CORE, we're an international association that was launched in 2009 to, to build an interoperable global network of repositories. Of course, we're not building it, but we're trying to create the practices needed, the practices and standards needed to ensure global interoperability. And I'm based in Canada, Montreal, Canada, but the offices of CORE are based in Europe, in Germany and Portugal. And currently we have over 150 members and partners from 5 continents. You can see the map there. And I think underlying everything we do is really our vision to position repositories as the foundation for a distributed, globally networked infrastructure for open scholarship. So we're really about transitioning to an environment of open scholarship and the role of repositories around doing that.
Sorry,
so here
Kathleen,
are some of, yes.
Your slides are not moving, at least from my end, not about the others. Can anybody see the slides are moving?
Sorry.
I see
So
only
what
the
if I do it?
Yeah, now
I do it in
it's
this.
moving.
Now
Okay.
it's okay. Now it's okay.
Okay. So here's the About CORE slide. And here are just a few of our activities. Of course, you can go and visit our website to find more information about all the things we are doing. I think very important for us to understand, and we all kind of know this, but research is a global enterprise. You can see the NRENs are connected from around the world, from different regions around the world in order to support international exchange of research. And many of our most critical challenges must be addressed at the global level. For example, climate change, or at the top of mind now, of all of our minds now, of course, is the COVID-19. And how important that is for the entire world, and how COVID-19 has accelerated the adoption of open science techniques and practices around the world, because we really need to solve this together. But on the other hand, research is also very local, and this was something that Irina alluded to in that submission to you, the African submission to UNESCO, the LibSense submission, because there are different priorities, research priorities, different issues of importance also in different countries. There are different languages, and it's very important that publicly funded research is available to the public and can be read and used by local populations. Different domains have different workflows. Different countries have access to different levels of resources, and so on. And so from CORE's perspective, we feel it's very, very important that we have a diversity in services and platforms, and a distributed services in order to support these different priorities and different needs in different countries and regions. So the challenge that we're really looking at is, how can we balance both the local and the global at the same time? And so the way we have approached this at CORE is to try to really support the development of localized infrastructures, encourage the adoption of community governance for those infrastructures and services, and nurture local communities of practice. And that's why we are so happy to be involved with the LibSense project, which is doing exactly that. And then on the other hand, at the global level, again, we need to ensure that we're not building these regional silos of infrastructures. They need to be locally centered and governed, but they also need to be interoperable with other countries and other regions. So the work we're doing around that is to try to harmonize metadata across different regions, because of course the metadata is the glue that kind of connects everything together. Encourage data sharing. So if we're collecting metadata from repositories in one country, we can encourage that that country shares their metadata with other countries. And this also ensures that if something happens to those local services, there are copies of the metadata elsewhere. The co-development or co-design of technologies and services across regions, and recently we've been discussing a possible collaboration between ASREN and Latin America, for example. Knowledge sharing across regions and common behaviors and functionalities, in particular regarding repositories. And so CORE has been working on all of these to advance all of these areas to support global interoperability. I mentioned at the beginning, CORE has about 150 members and partners, but our reach is much farther than that because we engage with repository networks. So our members tend to be universities, funders, governments, but we also engage with repository networks. So these are, this map shows you the repository networks that we're currently engaging with in one way or the other. And these are all slightly different. The way these networks are set up and organized are very different, but it's a way that we can ensure that we're communicating across different regions. And so our strategy for international alignment is different at different levels, and we can see that different regions and different countries are at different levels of development in terms of their repositories and the repository networks. And so we have a different strategy for engaging and supporting open science infrastructure development in countries in those different levels. So at the very first level, we the kind of thing that we're doing through LibSense at the moment is a lot of capacity building, creating shared understandings, and encouraging the development of that basic infrastructure. At level 2, we find countries where they have a lot of repositories, but they're kind of in silos. They're not working together at the national level. So in those countries, we try to work to try to bring together national networks to be more coordinated, to create a more strategic approach to how they're defining and planning the future of their services. And then at level 3 are countries and regions that have more organized and well-developed networks. So they already have a network, which is usually defined by being aggregated by a central aggregator. So bringing the metadata together, or sometimes the full text, into a central aggregation. And with those regions, we're trying to support the sharing of data across those regions, technology transfer, and working together to define and develop new services. And I think wrapped around all of these activities, or all of these 3 strategies, is to promote the use of best practices in repositories and with other value-added services, and try to harmonize as much as possible the metadata that we're assigning to the records in repositories. And with that, I say thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions that people have.
Thank you, Kathleen. Moving along with our program now with a session on open access.
Yasmin.
Yes.
Can you allow, if there is any question for Kathleen, Omo, and Irina, because they are leaving in 5 minutes or less, before going ahead? Any question to Omo or Kathleen or Irina? So sorry for interruption, Yasmin, but because they are leaving, so I want to thank them again, Kathleen, Omo, and Irina, for your participation. I know that you have to leave in less than 5 minutes, so thank you for that, and we will keep in touch for further collaboration, and definitely we'll share your presentation with the community and so on. So thank you for that, and back to you, Yasmin. Go ahead.
Thank you, Yusuf. Now, with a session on open access in the Arab region, starting with Rawia Wadda to talk about open access in Palestine.
Yes. Hello, can you see my screen?
Yes.
So is it in a present mode? Yes? Okay, thank you. So first of all, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak in this interesting workshop. My name is Rawia Wadda. I'll speak in brief today about the open access in Palestine. First of all, I will give a kind of history of open access initiatives in Palestine. But before that, maybe all of you know that the political situation and the Israeli occupation has its impact on the access to information in Palestine in general. Further to that, in 2007, there was a conflict, internal conflict between Fatah and Hamas, resulted in a kind of having two governments in one country. One government in West Bank and another government in Gaza. And because of that, we end up having also two ministries for telecommunication and information technology instead of having one. For example, a project started in 2009. It is about e-government and aimed at improving the internal connectivity between the governmental institutions in Palestine, and showing a kind of open governmental data practice. But unfortunately, this project went into unstable state because of the internal conflict between the two governments in West Bank and Gaza. So it's a kind of alternating between continuing and discontinuing its implementation over the years. So it is not finished actually, and we can notice only a very limited practice over governmental data. Fortunately, individuals and non-governmental organizations in Palestine and also abroad continued the efforts of promoting open access in Palestine. For example, the first National Open Access Awareness Raising Workshop was organized by IFIL in 2009, and these efforts continued in 2015, again through a series of raising awareness workshops. This time it was IFIL and PALICO, which is a Palestinian Association of Libraries. I think Diana is heading this Association of Libraries in Palestine, and they did really a good job and really great efforts in promoting open access in Palestine. Also, there was a project about adopting open access educational resources. It is a project funded by the European Commission through Erasmus Plus program. It is called OpenMed, and it was between 2015 and 2018. This was also followed by another project, which I'm going to talk about today in brief, which is called RUMOR. RUMOR aimed at raising awareness of open access institutional repository and building capacity in building these repositories in Palestine. It was a collaboration between 4 Palestinian partners and 4 Palestinian European universities, and also IFL was included in this project. I'll talk briefly about it soon. And then there is an ongoing project currently running in Palestine called Palestinian Library Platform. And it aims at building a kind of national library in Palestine. I'm not aware of the current result yet, but I know that they are still working on this project. There will be future work also continuing the work of RUMOR. It is called the Road Project, and I will talk about it briefly at the end of this presentation. Okay, so RUMOR, which I'm going to talk about, aims to improve the management, visibility, and accessibility of scientific research outputs in Palestine through building institutional repositories. We are facing open access publishing challenges as other countries over the world, including lack of open access awareness, lack of institutional encouragement, and questions regarding intellectual property and copyright, and also quality assurance in general is another issue. Also, we have a specific problem to the Arabic world, which is the Arabic language rendering, which is not a straightforward problem to deal with. RUMOR managed to build 4 searchable and accessible open access institutional repositories including full-text theses, academic publications, and in the partner universities. Also, we have managed to develop internal research data management policies in the partner universities. By the way, they are the Islamic University of Gaza, the Birzeit University. We have also Palestinian, the Al-Quds Open University, and Khabdour University in Tulkarem. We have also conducted many raising awareness activities, and we have developed training materials in Arabic as well. I'll talk in the remaining few slides about the challenges, the lessons, and recommendations we have practiced and noticed during our work on RUMOR project over the past few years. So, of course, we have started with training, and we have relied on the DCC model, basically to develop the training material of RUMOR, and we have translated and adapted some of the training material that we have developed during our project into Arabic language, and you can access them in the link above here. We don't unfortunately have time to show them, but you can go over them later. Then after the training, we went into, we have built a kind of working groups, and we have asked the working groups to work on the business model canvas. And I would like to highlight here that we have noted that it is important to keep the number of potential value proposition to its minimum, and to make sure that those who will be providing the resources for carrying out activities can see the value of doing this. And this is very important because, by the way, the working groups are drawn from different stakeholders, including the librarians, the research support staff, the researchers, the students, and the IT center people. But internally they were discussing the values, but later on they will carry these values and will go to the administration in their universities to convince them. So it is important to be able to show them the value out of this. After having the PMC model ready, people started, the working group started to implement their repositories internally in their universities. And something to highlight here that it is very important to start with a pilot implementation. So this is how we did it. So we have an initial pilot of the repositories, and it was just a very small pilot, and we have taken this pilot to the administration of the university, and we have asked them to see the importance of having such a repository in our university. And without this pilot, it will be difficult at that time. It would have been difficult at that time to convince them of the value of building such a repository in the university. So this is something that I would like to highlight. To start with a small scope, with a small pilot before you try to contact the administration in your university. Also, setting up the open access institutional repositories in Palestine went naturally through a number of steps, including, for example, setting the DSpace platforms. We have also defined the metadata catalogs. We have customized the interface so that able to deal with both Arabic and English. And we populated the repository, and I would like to mention our efforts here. It was also difficult to start with an empty repository. So when you go for the research and ask them to populate the repository, it will be very encouraging for them to start with an empty data. So we have decided to do a kind of batch import efforts and to harvest data from Google Scholar, for example, and other library systems, and populate the repository automatically. So researchers now can see some of their data there available on the repository, so they have the minimum amount of work left for them to do. Okay, also we have done a lot of work on completing missing metadata. So we have relied on the existing library for extracting metadata from existing PDF files for the English language. And we have also developed a code for extracting metadata from Arabic text from Arabic PDF documents. Its accuracy not 100%, but at least it can help in populating some of the metadata that we have in these articles. Okay, so we have met a number of challenges while we were setting up the repositories, including, for example, content localization. I mean here, metadata rendering are English and Arabic, so people can see both the title in Arabic and English, can see the abstract both in Arabic and English, and the names in Arabic and English. Also, variation of authors' names. So authors have names, some of names in Arabic, some of publications are in English names. So how to connect all these together to one author, for example, writing sometimes in Arabic and sometimes in English was a big challenge. Most of these efforts were done manually by some of the volunteers inside the universities. As I mentioned previously, we have dealt with missing metadata by using volunteers and also machine learning solutions for that. And also I mentioned populating the repository with batch and import. Also something that we have faced, technophobia, yes. People usually from humanities fields, from Arabic fields and so on, they don't have the enough capabilities to deal with depositing to repositories. So at the beginning of this project, we were trying to do most of the work on their behalf until we feel that they are confident they can do it by themselves. We can let them go and deposit by themselves. But it was really difficult because we needed a lot of volunteers to do that at that time. So these are screenshots for the repositories, and as I mentioned, after setting up the repositories, which were partially populated, we conducted advocacy events like luncheon ceremonies and training activities, so people started to know the work flow of the repository and how to deposit and so on. Parallel to developing the repositories, we were also developing the research data management policies inside the partner institutions. We started with the model policies.
Our time is tight. You have only 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm finishing in one slide. So we started from model policies, and we were able to negotiate these model policies in Arabic language with other stakeholders. And Rumor has an impact. So basically the statistics show that the visibility of research increased. And also we have impact on other non-partner universities. So there are 3 other universities have managed to set up their repositories in Palestine after Rumor. So in general, lack of communication with the ministry, fragmented environment of open access institutional repositories in Palestine, all of these problems convinced us to start a new project called Rumor, and it aims at enabling sharing infrastructure collaboratively across individual institutions to promote the research output of partner institutions as a whole, including agreement on metadata standard services and policies. This project will start in 2021, and I hope we will have with you all collaboration on that project in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rawia. Next with Bassem Amira to talk about open access in Tunisia.
Rawia, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yes, I have stopped it. Stopped?
Thank you, Rawia.
Thank you for your invitation. I will try to speak in English to share our experience, local experience with non-Arabic speaker language. So I'm Bassem Amira, IT manager in Knuts, Tunisia. So I will try to begin with to speak our experience in open access advocacy. So since 2011, we continue to make effort on open access advocacy by organizing events like annually study day called JELA, and holding international conference every 2 years. The last one is the third edition held in Morocco. So in addition of yearly celebrating Open Access Week. This is a result of collaboration and the fruit of a working group initiated by our center with the higher institute of the documentation. And over time, the community has grown to include other partners. So collaborative projects such Otempis, STMAG have also helped us to ensure the necessary building capacity and financial an action plan in favor of the open access in Tunisia. So our challenge is to enhance this collaboration and maintain it and involve it more efficiency decision maker on it. So as a result of open access advocacy and collaboration, we have written a draft for national open access policy. It's approved actually by only three universities in Tunisia. So at the same time, there is at the national level, there have been legal advances through the adoption of a new law in favor of the right to information access. And unfortunately, it doesn't explicitly mention access to scientific information, but it offers an opportunity, a good opportunity to build on. In the side of scientific research level, Tunisia now is one of the countries associated to the Horizon 2020 program financed by European Commission. So you know that the European Commission recommendation is in favor of mandatory open access. So we can help us to build on also. So in terms of realization, Tunisia has two open access repository registered on directory of open access repository. National one is called UT, Tunisian University Open Archive. It's built on the Venue framework, open source framework. So it's a central repository management managed by our center, the CNUTS. It contains all scientific content such as thesis, dissertation, research article, and conference proceeding, books, every scientific output, Tunisian scientific output. So our challenge is to continue to maintain the platform and ensure its evolution with the latest version of Venue framework. And also we need to work more closely with national research and educational network to adopting a new process and adapting new way to create our national scientific output in accordance with open access principle. So concerning open access journal, we work also at the national level with editor for the peer-reviewed academic journals. We support their editorial staff in order to ensure better visibility and to adapt publishing best practices. The results are starting to become visible now. We have some journals in the process of launching their electronic version in open access also. Others have already done. Now we have 8 open access journals. 4 journal is indexed in DOAG, Directory of Open Access Journal. So our challenge is to continue supporting editors, local academic editors, to adopt policy compliant with open access and to support them in the to make an infrastructure and use open source like OGS. This is all I have. Thank you for your listen.
Thank you, Bassem. And next with Rashid Ayasi to talk about open access in Morocco.
Okay, thank you for the invitation. So, is it okay? Is it okay for the presentation?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
So thank you for this opportunity, and it's a pleasure to take part of this important webinar to present open access at EMIST. Is it okay for the sound?
Yes.
So what is EMIST? EMIST is the Moroccan Institute of Scientific and Technical Information, and is a public institution affiliated to CNRST, which is a National Center for Scientific and Technical Research in Morocco. So the main mission of EMIST is
Sorry,
to make...
the presentation is not, the slides is not moving. So can you move it manually?
I don't know why. So, I don't know, j'arrête la présentation. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Can you try to move to the next slide? we can only see the first slide so far.
So I don't know why. Now so I will change the presentation. As presentation.
Rashid, may I suggest?
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Rashid, if it is not working, can you send the slides to me or to Hadia, and we can start your slides from our side.
Okay,
and meanwhile, maybe
we have some issue. I don't know why.
Can you send the slides to me through email?
I have some issue.
Okay, Rashid, do you hear me? Rashid?
So I continue without the slide. So I have some issue to present.
Okay, it's up to you. You can speak.
And
we will take your slides to the community through when you send it to us by email. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we can do it. As I say, the Moroccan Institute of Scientific and Technical Information, IMIS, is a public institution affiliated to CNRST, which is National Center for Scientific and Technical Research at Morocco. So the main mission of IMIS is to make available to our community the scientific and technical information they have need. So to ensure this mission, IMIS had different human resource profiles, librarians, engineering, technician, etc. And with this stuff, IMIS has implemented different products. And today we will present briefly 3 products. The first one is Tubqal, which is a Moroccan catalog of theses. And second one is PLSM, which is Moroccan Scientific Journals portal. And the last one is a new one, which is Moroccan Research Data. So Tubqal is an open access repository, which is currently includes more than 12,000 theses, and it generates traffic estimated to more than 500,000 visits from 160 countries. The portal allows multi-criteria research and give access to more than 1,500 full-text theses. So the second product is PLSM, which is Moroccan Scientific Journal portal. The portal is created by IMIS, and it currently includes more than 140 journals, and the portal generates more than 500,000 visitors with more than 170,000 downloads of articles. The portals allow multi-criteria search and gives access to more than 9,000 articles in access. Regarding the services provided in this project, the project provided around this portal are, for example, hosting journals. We provide statistics. And as you know, IMIS is now a datasite member, and we provide DOEs for all the articles hosted in the portal. We offer also plagiarism prevention tool, and also we assist our editors for indexing journals in international databases. And the last one is archiving and backupping data. So regarding PLSM journal indexing, the portal currently has 5 journal indexed in Scopus and 26 journals indexed in DOIG and 1 journal indexing in Web of Science. So the last product is a new one, is a new portal that we plan to launch this year, which is Moroccan Research Data. Moroccan Research Data is a portal dedicated for archiving and dissemination of research data produced within universities and research institutions in Morocco. So it will contain different type of data, text files, tabular file, digital image, digital videos, etc. And computer program source code. The portal is in test phases and will be officially launched this year and is available following links alfiria.emis.ma. So for more information, please contact us at alfiria@emis.ma. And thank you. So sorry for the presentation is not available.
Thank you, Rashid. You can send it to us and we can share it.
Yeah. Okay,
So
thank you.
next, may I invite Nabil Kasibi from ORCID with a presentation on the importance of PIDs for researchers and institutions.
All right, so hello everyone. Can you hear me well, right?
Yes.
Great, so I'm gonna give it a try and share my desktop or share a particular tab, which is this one. All right, so it was a great pleasure to be invited here. Thank you so much, Mr. Youssef. And it was a real pleasure to hear about the ROR project from Palestine. I was really following this project since last year, I think. And yeah, it was great to hear from Mr. Bassem from CNUTS, and also to hear from our brothers from Morocco and the latest evolution, let's say, and latest progress at the MIST. All right, so I'm gonna try to present from here. And we're gonna say that this is the first slide and you can see it well, right?
Yes.
Great. So yeah, thank you very much for for this opportunity. This is a real pleasure to be with you here today. I'll go very briefly around some of the introductions or some of the definitions of persistent identifiers. Some of them are pretty new and pretty trendy, and some of them are we already know about them, from the past. And yeah, without further saying, I will say that what's a PID or what's in a PID? A persistent identifier is a long-lasting reference to a document, file, web page, and or other object or thing. As you can see here, there's plenty of logos, and this is, I think, like maybe 50% of all the DOIs that exists actually. So to start with, why PIDs and why persistent identifiers? I saw when I was preparing this presentation, I found out this comment or note from a study around analyzing the persistence of referenced web resources with Momento, which is saying the issue of citation standards became important in the online world as well. So as much as we are going online, we are spreading our identity here and there. We are putting our works, contributions, and efforts, and at some platforms that that are requesting too much information from our site, and where we cannot see some kind of transparency, let's say. So this is very diverse in terms of submitting works, in terms of linking contributions across the web. But then studies have shown that within a few years of being cited, a significant percentage of web addresses go dead, which is logic, because if you do not have something to link with that web resources, then it will disappear and perish as soon as we forget about it. PIDs for organizations, or persistent identifiers for organizations, we can cite the LEI, the legal entity identifier, which is a unique global identifier for legal entities participating in financial transactions. We have also GRID, which is the Global Research Identifier Database, and it's a research database or research identifier database built from scratch under a CC1 license. Then we do have the organizational identifier version of ISNI, which is Ringgold. And Ringgold is the registration agency for ISNI, and the Ringgold database include cross-worked ISNI organization identifiers. So it's linking, both databases are feeding each other. Then why PIDs for organizations? Why persistent identifiers for organizations? I have this example from Jamiat al-Qarawiyyin in Morocco, in Fez, Morocco. And if I just type in Arabic Jamiat al-Qarawiyyin in Google, I will see that the first result will show me this writing of the university, which is with Q, A, and double Y. While just in front of this research, I can find that there is a different writing of the university, which is with K and OU and one unique Y and I. So this is really complete different writing, right? So if I'm looking for this university in not a relevant writing manner, I'll be lost. So when I put this research in Ringgold, for example, in the search engine of Ringgold, I can find that there is a unique University of Al-Qarawiyyin, which is in Morocco, Northern Africa, and city is Fez, and which is having this unique Ringgold identifier, right? And this unique ISNI identifier, which is allowing a lot of things, you know, which is allowing to identify this university in systems, which is also allowing to disambiguate the name of this university. And at the end, which is helping or pushing or enhancing the visibility of the university, because it's all starting with the name. If the name is written correctly, spelled correctly, and referenced correctly, then I don't see any reason why this institution is not discoverable. Then PIDs for contributors and persistent identifier for contributors, and I found this let's say paragraph from the University of South Australia and from a LibGuide that they created, stating the most relevant person identifiers or contributors identifiers or authors identifiers to guide their student and their researchers and staff faculty member on using those identifiers. Of course, nowadays the most used one is the ORCID ID. So the researcher ID is now part of Web of Science Clarivate, which is the for-profit side of the person identifier field. So on the non-profit side, we do have ORCID, which is now holding almost 10 million ORCID IDs. And then to show that, yes, so because this is a community effort and that was a community need, we really had this exponential use or exponential adoption of ORCID throughout the last years. Then why PIDs for contributors? I had this recent tweet that I found, which is very funny. from a researcher, I think, or professor, asking about who is WAD. And the thing is that, yeah, so this is a complete and full publication, or maybe a manuscript or work, but the author name is not there. And as you can see here, the publication is from 1913. So this is really showing that nowadays, and showing that this problem is existed from that era until nowadays, right? And this is still an existing challenge, let's say, to disambiguate names. And also, we have this famous article where we had a tweet about it, where a researcher asked another researcher, I'm the 38th author on that paper, and that the second researcher said, good, that's good. But then the first researcher replied saying that I'm the 38th author called Wang, right? So this is really a challenge and a big issue for big articles where you can find this naming ambiguity, let's say. Then for PIDs for contributions, this is really important and very relevant. So persistent identifiers for contributions, including objects, things, or everything, or every, let's say, data or work that will be digitalized or published through the web or put online. So as the online, or as an example of online PIDs, we do have the digital object identifier, and we do have the archive ID. For magazines, let's say, and books, we do have the ISSN, the well-known ISSN, and the well-known ISBN. So just to generalize this and to get back to the source of it, so this is basically based on a handle system, handle, which is the persistent identifier in computing language. And as you can see here, a simple metadata description when put through an URL and linked to a handle or associated with a handle can have an output of an electronic resource with sound, visual, or audio, which is representing complete, let's say, work linked to the metadata description. So this handle ID will always be included or linked or associated with this metadata description. And there is a couple of, let's say, DOI registration agencies. In publishing, we do have Crossref. In other works, we do have DataCite. So yeah, basically this is in general what is linking DataCite, Crossref, and the DOIs that they are generating. So then this is very important also to underline that these PIDs are contributing to a huge interoperability that should be in place for any open research ready infrastructure. And again, another tweet from a researcher saying or complaining about the difficulties to submit in a journal, which should be very easy because yeah, if there is any technical challenges or if there is any setbacks, then it can really affect the research cycle and maybe the progress of the research for that researcher. So less time filling forms and filling applications and more time doing research. This is the basic vision or basic value of DOIs and person identifiers. So as you can see here, the researcher can publish their work within a publisher, and this publisher will register a DOI with Crossref basically. and then Crossref will link. Of course, this researcher will publish this work using their ORCID ID, and then the Crossref will publish this work on the ORCID record of this researcher, and using a DOI we can retrieve and synchronize all the steps back. So if the researcher is submitting a second version of the same work, all these steps will be done automatically. Also, if this researcher is having ORCID ID and, let's say, part of a member organization, or this publisher is a member organization, and they are integrating with ORCID until the synchronized, let's say, step, then this researcher will see every time their paper or their work displayed in their ORCID records automatically as soon as it's published from the publisher or from the university or from any institution that requested or triggered this process. And of course, everything should be done under the control of the researcher. So the researcher will allow and permit all these institutions to write, read, or update their record, including publications, funding, or any kind of work related to the research cycle. So in Arabic, I'm gonna quickly switch in Arabic because, yeah, this is the webinar for Arabic region. حبيت يعني نجيب المثال هذا من جامعة الملك عبد الله للعلوم والتقنية، والأوركيد هذا خاص بطالبة في هذه الجامعة. يعني كما نشوفوا لهنا عنا الافيليشن أو يعني إضافة الوظيفة من قبل الجامعة تكون عبر الجهاز أو السيستم اللي في الجامعة. يعني نجم نشوفوا هوني السورس أو المصدر يكون كاوست هنا اللي هي جامعة الملك عبد الله للعلوم والتقنية. نجم نشوفوا اللي المصدر هو كاوست ريبوزيتوري. ونفس الشيء يعني بالنسبة للافيليشن أو الديبارتمنت، يعني إذا تنقل الطالب من مرحلة ماستر لمرحلة دكتوراه، يعني كل شيء نجم يتقيد على الأوركيد ريكورد. يعني مهم جدا نشوفوا أنه السجل المؤسسي بالمكتبة، يعني في مكتبة الملك عبد الله، هو يستعمل دي سبيس. وأيضا نجم نشوفوا يعني كيفاش تم إضافة الأعمال البحثية عبر المؤسسة هنا، يعني بواسطة هاندل، يعني اللي حكينا عليه بكري شوية. وعنا هنا نشوفوا زاد المصدر نفسه هو كاوست، وهنا تم عملية إضافة يعني منشورات أو مخطوطات أو يعني أي أعمال بحثية تخص هذه الطالبة. وهنا مثال صغير يعني باش نجموا ننشروا عمل بصفة مجانية، ويمكن معناها إضافة هذا المعرف الكائني معرف الكائن الرقمي للعمل متاعنا اللي هو يعني DOI أو Digital Object Identifier. يعني إذا نحب أن ننشر عمل ما قبل الطباعة في أفريكا أركايف مثلا، نضيف الأوركيد الخاص بي، بما أنه أفريكا أركايف وزينودو يعني شركاء أو بارتنرز، وزينودو تطلب يعني ال DOI من قبل داتا سايت، يمكن عندي أن يكون عندي DOI للعمل متاعي مجاني يعني عبر هذه الطريقة. وإذا كان يعني هذه نعمل أي تغيير في هذا العمل، سوف معناها نشوف هذا التغيير على السجل الأوركيد متاعي يعني في بضع لحظات. يعني هذا نجم نقولوا هذه طريقة سهلة لنشر أي عمل بالأخص يعني ما قبل الطباعة، ومجانية، ويعني نجم تكون عندها associated with DOI يعني. Back to English. So what are the drivers, let's say, for these persistent identifiers? ORCID, for example, and a couple of other universities started a project in 2014, which is called TOR, which is the Technical and Human Infrastructure for Open Research, and which is also funded by the Horizon 2020, and which is also traced the basic, let's say, use and basic guidelines on to use persistent identifiers. TOR is linked to FREIA, which is also part of the Horizon 2020 European funded project. We also had ODIN, which is the ORCID and Data Site Interoperability Network, which also helped a lot in, let's say, unlocking some technical challenges for some, let's say, institutions that are willing to integrate with ORCID and use DataCite at the same time, and trying to put in place this kind of interoperability. Then we do also have PDAPalooza, which is an annual gathering where all these, persistent identifiers enthusiasts or folks like ORCID, DataCite, Crossref, or ROR, now the new organizational identifier, are here and gathered in this event to share best practices and share use cases. Yeah. So, and this year, this event is free, so anyone can join. Please don't hesitate to join for this one. Usually it's paid, but thanks to Corona, this year it's free. Yeah, I know I'm over time, but I just have 2 slides. So this one is regarding the ORCID presence in worldwide, and as you can see here, in green we do have consortia. So as you can see, we do have consortia in these countries, and there is a lack of this, let's say, collaboration model in this region. So how to get involved? By national policies, by establishing national policies, by putting some joint statements for principle, through some open access policies, and all what can drive, let's say, building a national consortia, supporting the ORCID community in local language. Well, shukran, and thank you very much, and sorry for being over time.
Thank you, Nabil. And now we conclude the workshop with Raed Zabi, talking about academic libraries' future role in open access era.
Thank you, Yasmin. Okay, so, presentation is
yes.
Ready? Okay, great. Well, I will try to talk briefly from an academic library perspective about the future of libraries or their role in the open access era, actually. Simply what we mean by libraries, when we are talking about libraries, we usually will talk as a collection of resources, whether the library is academic library, public library, national library. The main goal of the library is to maintain its resources. Also, we mean by library as the building or space for the current time, actually, for academic libraries in particular, when talking about libraries, the space itself is very important. I mean, for accreditation purposes, to avail the space and the equipments to get accredited for either national or international programs. Also, the library function, that's the organization of its own information when it's come to resources like printed or digital resources to avail the library management system to maintain the resources, to do acquisition, to do classification, and do cataloging of resources as well. And there is the library as a service, as a supporting role in the context of the organization. It depends on the library itself, whether it's academic or public or national library, actually. Let's talk about academic libraries in specific. As you know, the academic libraries' role traditionally was to avail or maintain publications, physical or digital, later on became digital, and make them discoverable to their patrons, users, academic staff, students, researchers. But actually, this rule is getting less important when it comes to open access era. Actually, there was a big jump from physical to digital. For now, for example, it's rare to get printed journals and get them available to users. All are digital subscriptions, but this issue is also is changing and become to get changing dramatically when we are going to the open access era. Even publisher big names are investing more in open access journals. So there is a push on libraries, and it's not secret that some expectation for academic libraries they will be dying unless they change the way they deliver service, or they will be dealing about this situation, the open access era. So academic libraries need to be more creative, innovative. There is a dynamic need, increasing need in teaching, learning, and research. And to be honest, the pandemic crisis, the corona situation right now, there is actually the demand on resources. I mean, educational resources more and more, rather than scholarly resources, journals and books. Maybe the focus need to be about libraries to be as information gateways in the digital age. I mean, gateways, it need to be bidirectional, actually. It comes to getting access to data or information from publishers or other institutions, and to make your own information or data available to other users worldwide. Let's talk about academic library approaches, how they can be aligned with their institution. Actually, there is the service provider approach, where you can deliver services like maybe plagiarism detection tools, like grammar detection or grammar correction, support activities, conduct sessions about authoring, about publishing, be more into support of research, support of institution goals of for ranking worldwide. the partner approach, libraries, academic libraries need to work close with their partners, the Institute of Scientific Research, for example, the Centers of Academic Development, who's in charge about university ranking, and of course for other organizations worldwide. Also, library need not to wait and be only as interactive. They need to be more innovative, focus on new areas. Maybe one part of to adopt the resistant identifier system of their own institution. Focus on the strategy level of their institution, and try to contribute in better way. For the trends that will affect or really start to affect academic libraries, actually they are a kind of nexus of different trends when it comes to working together. There's the datafied scholarship, where focus is not only on publication, as traditionally has been. It's focus on large data sets, digital artifacts, involving more in open and network and algorithmically driven systems. Other nexus may be the connected learning, where learning is moving more and more into technology-enabled flexible learning, focusing on open educational resources, maybe, or in tools and platforms to avail these resources to students and users. And there is the service-oriented libraries, where libraries need really to start, if they have not started yet, moving from shifting actually from collection point of view, or collection way of the dealing of resources into services. To talk more about datafied scholarship, actually this is a combination of various trends, including open access, open science, and text and data mining, artificial intelligence and machine learning, Internet of Things, digital humanities, and academic social networking services. And I'm sure academic libraries can be there and be innovative, actually. For the current time, as you know, academic libraries maybe have been already in many countries have been already involved in some of these aspects in promoting open access, and actually there is a big demand on open access. Even authors and the institution itself, there is a desire to get publication, their own publication on open access, which means more citation and more ranking. Libraries can help and do a lot in setting up publishing services as an infrastructure, as awareness, as capacity building as well. Can also work on developing research data management policies, and for sure for running the institution repositories. My last slide, this data has been taken from the Shimago journals ranking list, and shows the growth of open access. As you know, Shimago journals ranking list, they do ranking services for countries and journals as well, and their data is built on Scopus data. as you can see in 1999, only 6% of the most prestigious journals were open access. In 2009, this became 10% of the total number of their ranking list. And in 2019, the number is 20%, and it's expected to getting more and more. Thank you very much, and try to be as fast as I can.
Thank you, Raed. Thank you very much for all presenters for their informative and interesting talk. And now we leave some room for any question. Yusuf, you are muted.
Okay, thank you, Yasmin. I don't have a question actually, but I have want to thank all the speakers, and I would like to maybe I would like to admire the Nabil's presentation, and maybe we can take it wider with more details. I think I would like to Raed to coordinate with Nabil and see if we can have a webinar on this specific topic sometime soon, if that's possible.
Thank you. Okay, no questions. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to the end of our program. We would like to say thanks again to all presenters for their informative and interesting talk, and thanks to the audience for your active participation. I hope you enjoyed our program today, and we look forward to your participation in future events. Thank you all.
Thank you.
شكرا everyone.
Thank you.
كنت
شكراً.
هنشكر.
Thank you.